Antashala Kishkarata, Kishkarata Nishnamai, Nishnamai Ara, Ki Ara, Ara Ara, Nahananea, Nananaha Ia Awa Ana Arai, Arai Ki Kashkarata, Kashkarata Nish, Araniha Kush Karatai, Amena, Amena Araya, Araihani Arai Anaka, Karaski, Kishkurata, Nimashka, Nimashka, Nimashka. Hello and welcome. Beautiful, beautiful light warriors. I have something to share with you today. I have been not feeling very well the last few days. And as I sat within my sanctuary, I was guided to do some writing. And I would like to share with you what it is that they brought to me. This is basically my story. So I may have to stop and kind of catch my breath at different points of it. And if this resonates with anyone in me sharing this, I am sending you so much love and healing light. So let's begin. Beautiful, divine warriors, you are of the light and of the darkness, and you are so desperately needed to take up your sword and walk with courage, shining your light all around you. You may not feel worthy of this task, for I'm speaking to those that have harbored guilt, shame, envy, anger, sadness, and all that is considered in our world to be bad. You are not alone, for we have all walked that path at some point within our lifetime. It is now time for you to claim your place, to claim your light, to claim your dark, your shadow, to claim all of you. The song, all of you, I take all of you, is playing in my head as I speak of this. So you have not come here to play small. You have not come here to hide within the shadows. You have come here to conquer the shadows and lead the way back to the light. You are here to meander through that pathway of shadow and light, dipping and diving, as your light brings clarity to those shadows and pulls them into the light to be revealed within their glory. For darkness is a blank slate where creation begins, when the breath of light is able to crack open and enter the heart of darkness. And no, darkness is not evil. It is simply parts that have been hidden out of fear, guilt, or shame, that within those shadows continue to grow and become the monster that we imagine lives within. We are all on a spiritual journey, regardless of what it is that is your passion, your job, your hobby. Whatever that is your spiritual path. For we are all spiritual beings and are always connected to our spirit, which makes us all spiritual. Everything we do consciously or unconsciously contributes to our journey, to our end point of this lifetime. And then the cycle begins again. It is a never-ending circle this life of ours. And from what I have seen, we have a choice. We can choose to embrace it all, or we can deny parts of ourselves and hide within the darkness, creating the monster of our mind. That monster is not created within the heart. It is created within the mind when we experience distorted energy that takes us into a state of unworthiness. Let's speak about how this state of unworthiness can be created. In my personal experience and in working closely with others, I have discovered that unworthiness is an opinion that is held within ourselves when we experience trauma in some form and are unable to have justice or completion to that story. Each of us have harbored something within us that if we think about it, we will realize that what we felt shameful or guilty about was not really anything that is a part of us, but more an experience that society has deemed as wrong or bad. When that opinion is spoken or given by outside influences in a respected position of authority, we hold on to guilt for something that happened to us and that really was not a part of us at all. It was an event that created a negative emotion that society has dictated as unacceptable, and when we act out an unacceptable emotion, we are labeled as something we are not, or possibly not believed at all. We are told not to speak of it, and that something terrible will happen to someone we love if we do. And we don't want anyone else to look down on our family for something that one person did. Here begins the creation of the monster that lives inside, within the darkness. Acts of abuse, molestation, or incest are hidden away because of the shame that may be cast upon the family. In the meantime, the child is carrying the burden of that secret, the guilt, the shame, the feeling of being dirty for something that they were subjected to that they had no control over. This is a theme in our society, hiding the truth. Always more concerned about how others will see us rather than how we see ourselves when we look in the mirror each day. Protecting the perpetrator and the family name out of fear of owning that shame and having others look down upon them without considering the damage to the self-esteem and worthiness of an innocent. An innocent can be of any age, any gender, any walk of life, from a pauper to the CEO. Shame has no age attached to it. And there certainly is no limit on how large the monster becomes. Guilt has no expiry date, nor does blame. All of these emotions can grow into deep-seated anger and revenge, and after all the time taken to keep that dirty little secret hidden, there are crevices within families, difficulties in relationships, trust issues, and even health issues, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Quite often the victim of the circumstance turns on themselves in their unworthiness and creates a life of continued lack and punishment because they feel deep within that they deserve it. This becomes their vengeance because they have had no other outlet to rid themselves of the pain and to heal the wound created by a decision of someone in a position of power to keep that secret just to save their face. There was not even a thought of the seed they planted that would take root in unwanted places. This may all sound mysterious, but this is no mystery to those that are holding the key to that locked door and the story that is hidden behind it. There are many similar stories buried deep within many souls, seeking their worthiness and striving to make up for the guilt that always lies just beneath the surface. How many others were robbed of their innocence because they did not speak up out of fear? I am speaking on this subject as an expert witness, and while I personally took no action to unlock that door for many years, That secret took a toll on all levels of my body, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. No matter how much I was the good girl, always trying to do the right thing, there was always a dark undercurrent of unworthiness and shame. Shame that I must have done something to deserve that. And why was God punishing me? And maybe if I was really, really good, I could still get into heaven. I felt tainted and angry that my innocence was taken from me before it should have been. As I look back on my childhood, I do not recall happy memories. I recollect no happy memories, but I know within my healed self that there were. However, I do not recall them. I was always just trying to work my way back into heaven, praying that I could do enough that God would let me in. Long story short, I am one of the lucky ones. I did not turn to drugs or alcohol to numb my pain. Instead, I became pregnant and was forced to marry at a very young age, beginning a family, keeping so busy that I wouldn't have to remember. But children grow up, life changes, and there comes a time when we are forced to face what we did not have the courage to face. I'm going to take you back, way back to my childhood, to bring you some solid details of how I have come full circle back to myself. As a young child, I experienced extraterrestrial phenomena and remember being afraid of the holes in the bottom of my window that someone could come through. Those holes were about 1 inch in diameter, so no ordinary person could come through. Perhaps an energetic being could. I have always had the ability of deep understanding of others, that empathy that trapped me within those unhealed emotions of all that I came into contact with. My childhood was filled with a lot of darkness, as my parents struggled within their relationship, both holding on to a past that had created anger within them. My father was not home a lot in my early years, childhood, and I barely remember him at all. It was always Mom that was there, and she did her best to keep the family together. Losing her own mother at the age of 10 was a wound that had never healed. After the death of her mother, she and her younger sister were sent to live in a Catholic convent and in a private home with distant relatives. It was with the distant relatives that she experienced the abuse, and I believe where a good portion of her anger came from. She felt responsible for her younger sister and did everything in her power to keep her safe. She succeeded in this at the loss of her own innocence. It would be many years later, through my conscious connection, that her abusers would contact her through me for her forgiveness. It was then that she would release this shame and anger and free herself of that wound caused by the abuse she endured at the hands of those that should have protected her. My mother endured a lot in her childhood, and I am proud of her ability to continue to love through that pain. Now my father, he had woundings within him that never healed. He held anger toward his father for going to war and for returning from war. He had anger toward his sister for the relationship she had with their father, and he often spoke of how she was Daddy's favorite and never got in trouble. I believe it was the relationship with his sister that I reminded him of. I'm not sure in what way, if only that I was a girl. But whatever scar I picked at on that emotional level ran deep. I would be sent to bed for no reason other than I was standing in the way. And as a sensitive child, I cried myself to sleep many nights while I listened to the family watching television as I lay in bed on my tear-stained pillow. I did not understand it, and I did not understand why no one ever stood up for me. It was like Dad was God, and he had all authority. No one could cross his word. Speaking of God and his authority, as I mentioned earlier, my mom spent time in the Catholic convent and took on some of that belief system. However, I'm certain that belief system was skewed because of the age she was when she was taught, or perhaps she was taught those beliefs by those that would like to foster fear instead of love. In those times, fear seemed to be the way to control, and it seems like a lot of people were looking for control. Mom brought some of those religious fear tactics into our upbringing, and she spoke to us of the book of life that was with God in heaven. The story she told us was that there were white pages and black pages in the book. Each time we did something bad, a white page was torn out of the book, and when we had no more white pages, we would go to hell. I remember praying that God would add a white page for every good thing we did, so we had an opportunity to right our wrongs, but Mom didn't know about that. So as a child, when something bad happened, I would see God tearing out a page, moving me one step closer to hell. This was a terrible, controlling, and manipulating story. However, I believe my mother was told that story as a child to keep her in line. She did say she was a bit mischievous, and someone else mentioned that she was quite a handful. Knowing my mother and her adventurous spirit, I do not doubt that they used fear to keep her in her place. As a child, my mission was always to make sure I got into heaven. So I sought out a church on my own at 6 years old and would dress myself and walk there each Sunday morning, hoping that by going, my family would have salvation. I am not sure why I felt such a huge responsibility for the salvation of others, but I remember a childhood filled with fear and possible damnation. I am not placing blame on anyone. I am stating facts. Facts that many in roles of authority used fear to control those that did not know better. This tactic was passed down through generations as accepted discipline. For this, I say shame on you, to those people in powerful positions that manipulated those that trusted them. My first encounter with the perpetrator was when my sister and I stayed with an older couple. I was thrilled to have the attention of the man in the house as we played checkers in the evening. One day when I came home from school, the missus was out with my sister, and only the man was sitting at the table. He bid me take off my boots and come over to him. When I went over, he tried to pick me up and very awkwardly began fondling me. I was terrified, wiggling out of his grip and grabbing my boots, running outside. I never told anyone about that, and at times I even doubt that it happened, questioning myself and my memory of it. I may have questioned my memory when I was 6, but I do not question it when I was 11. I had been babysitting and had crawled into bed with the children and fallen asleep. I was wakened when an uncle sat down on the edge of the bed and began to touch and fondle me. I remember being devastated and terrified all at once. Did I tell? Yes, I did. But I was warned to keep it a secret because my dad would probably kill him and then he'd go to jail. So I kept it a secret for years while it festered inside, holding me hostage in its endless cycle of unworthiness. Sex and sexual encounters became unpleasant and uncomfortable for me. I became hypersensitive to the behaviors of men around children, watching them and how they interacted. I was not comfortable leaving my children with anyone and rarely took time for myself unless a family member could take them. My trust in humanity was broken, and it would take a lifetime to regain it. I speak of this not to bring up old wounds, but to bring your attention to the healing that has come through forgiveness and acceptance of myself. Do I need forgiveness? Yes, I believe I do. Forgiveness for not honoring myself, for devaluing myself, for blaming myself, for all of those questions that raced through my mind about myself when I did nothing to deserve this. I forgive myself for holding me hostage with this secret and allowing it to become a monster living within me. A monster that robs me of pleasure every time I feel the touch of another because it takes me back to that moment. for the paralysis that takes over my body at times when I least expect it, because something in the air triggers that moment when I was victimized. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. I have been guided to tell my story for others to heal, and for that, I will tell. I will tell each of you that whatever monster you have fed within yourself can be released by recognizing it. It will hold no power when it is revealed, for within the walls of secrecy it continues to grow with every story that is told or not told to cover it up and keep it locked away. It will continue to hold power over you for as long as you allow it to victimize you. You are not a victim. You are the victor. And I am here to hand you the key in the name of forgiveness and encourage you to unlock the door to the darkness and let the light shine through. I was guided to write this, to begin a healing process, to help others on their path, as it has taken me a lifetime of seeking, a lifetime of seeking myself, of seeking my own light, of seeking salvation, when there was no need for me to seek salvation, because we already are the light. We already are immortal beings. But when we look at a part of ourselves with disgust, remorse, and regret, that darkness grows within us, and that monster is created, and that monster robs us of the pleasure of life, the joy, the experiences, the innocence. These are a couple of things that I have experienced in my childhood that have had a hold on me for a lot of my life. And there are a lot of people that do not know about this. And I will not name names, for I do not feel that the name is important. What I feel is important is the forgiveness. The realization that as a child you really had no control. And I'm bringing this forward for those of you that have experienced anything in your life that made you feel less than, made you feel less than the glory that you are. You did not deserve that. And I am sorry that you have felt that you have felt less. That you have had so many negative experiences within your life because you felt deep within you that you did not deserve to be happy. Or that you have felt you always had to be the martyr. That it was on your shoulders to save the world. Or that you had to be perfect so that you could get into heaven. You are not here to be perfect. You already are perfect. You are here to experience life, to experience love, to experience loss. You are here for the good and the bad and everything in between. You are not meant to be held within the confines of regret and suffering. You are here to move through that and toward the light. And that is what I am on here to do today, is to encourage you to do that. To breathe into your heart and know that you are loved and you are love. You are the epitome of love. That is your essence. That is your truth. And we can choose to portray something different. But we have a choice here within this human avatar. We can portray whatever we want. But make no mistake, at the center of you, you are pure light and pure love. And with that, take a deep breath and release all of that suffering. Allow yourself, like the fool, to jump in, to soar. Look up into the sunlight. Feel the warmth on your skin. Feel the breeze on your face. Smell the fresh grass. Hear the birds sing. Watch the children play in gleefulness. Those of you that have experienced these things are here as guardians. You are guardians. And you have experienced those things so that you are aware that you are here to protect others, the innocent. The innocent. You can recognize that energy from a mile away. Nobody can fool you. You know it. You feel it. You smell it. And you come close to someone like that. That is the gift of the experience. That is the gift. And that is what I am taking. I am taking the gift of being able to recognize that. To protect others from that. To heal that wound. To pull that monster out of the basement and reveal to the world that all it is a frightened child curled up in the corner. That's all it is. A frightened child. Your child. Your child that has been in hiding because of that experience. Take them by the hand and love them Love them back into you. Love that playfulness back, that joyfulness, the innocence, the wonderment. Call it all back. Taking in a deep breath. Arashka, Arashvanish Karai, Karai Arati, Arati Awosh Karate Mashki, Arai, Alai Nishkai, Ki Orai Dukshkarai, Dukshkarai E Kara, Niharatai, Niharata Nikata, Nikata Mish Arai, Arai Noskara, Noshkara Detash, Milashko, Milashko, Tikai Anai, Avikata, Avikata Arai Nash, Abika, Abika, Abika Nash, Ilai, Ilai Nash, Ara. Thank you to each one of you that has taken the time. May you receive the light of healing through you today. May you witness your own light, your truth, your joy. This is the moment for you to break through into a new layer of consciousness. One that comes from forgiveness and just letting it go. All right, beautiful, beautiful warriors. Thank you for joining me. And I hope to see you next time. Until then, please remember to always let love be your guide. Arashna. Tish Kara. Arashna.